interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Yo, it's Remember the Show. Slick with the flows, where the sparring can go. Who's gonna be on, man, you never will know. Guess you better tune in, cause we live from Chicago. Belal Muhammad, that's the king of the tweets. Jason Anik looks like John, step his hands to his feet. Every Thursday, we gon' give you a treat. It's Remember the Show, hit play and repeat. And retweet, and retweet, and retweet. And retweet, it's Remember the Show, hit play and repeat.
What is up? It is Thursday, November 17th, 2022, episode 82, Remember the Show. And those of you joining us live, we appreciate that you remember the show tonight. My name is Jason Anik, joined as always by the UFC's fourth-ranked welterweight Belal Muhammad. Pleasure as always on this side of the table. Dude, missed you in New York City last weekend. What a weekend for the worldwide leader in mixed martial arts, man. It was bananas, bro. I'm sure you caught it. Talk to me, man. It was nuts.
Dude, that whole card was sick. The finishes on it, the energy, it looked amazing in there. I'm like, bro, man, I wish I was down there with you guys. Like, how did it just feel being in there? Like, was it just different?
It was incredible, man. And, you know, for me personally, some of these events, when I go with John, I'm just sort of going in there with him and sort of just sitting kind of with the camera crew. So I'm right there watching him and, you know, he's certainly fired up. So that gets me going sort of on a different level. But being that close to the cage for these scraps, you know, you're starting the night with Carlos Ulberg. And, you know, what amazes me about the UFC over the years is back in the day, you'd show up for the first prelim and it's crickets. Nowadays, not just New York City, but it's all of a sudden you look around, it's like people are there, but it's just exciting being on the floor, exciting being down there with, you know, Halle Berry, et cetera, you know, but it was an amazing night. I mean, 11 finishes, 7 first-round finishes. It was bananas, bro. It's just absolutely bananas. And just seeing some of these dudes compete. I don't know if I could handle being that close to the octagon with you fighting. I don't know if I could handle it.
Dude, John was like super sick the morning of. Like, you could have had your shot to be the one calling the fights that day, huh?
So I offered to, you know, record some of those Modelo promos or whatever. But no, he was, man. I mean, he was sick, man. He said hasn't been this sick ever for a UFC fight. I guess when he called a Bellator fight back in the day, he was a little under the weather. But no, he was sick. And I was telling Cody, you know, I was with him all day Saturday, and typically the day of the show, a little bit anxious, you know, excited, doing some prep. He did almost no prep on Saturday. And granted, he goes to bed Friday night ready to go. But he was just, and interestingly enough, he said he was sort of more relaxed than normal, almost because he was too sick to even work. But he woke up with razor blades in his throat. You know, when you're congested, you can barely talk. But I was certainly not going to be the go-to guy. But ultimately, you know how the human body is. It's sort of, you get through it. And, you know, he looked fine to me a few weeks away.
Dude, like literally, like listening to it, like I didn't even notice it because like it was just, everything was still on point. And then I listened to the Anik and Florian podcast Monday, and I just heard Petrie, and I'm like, where the heck is John at? And then the next day, John, you guys did it Tuesday, and he was saying how sick he was. But it was like the Jordan flu game, man. Like, you didn't realize how good he is. People don't know what people go through on fight day, on game day, but he didn't show it at all.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and I know he will. And no, he's not a fighter, but certainly there are certain professions where, like, you got to go in sick, not just calling in sick. So, you know, and using your voice. I mean, his voice is a tool, you know, it's like your fist. So, but anyway, he got through it. Dude, the fight card itself, just one point I just want to make, and we can talk about the fights, but I just want to make a point about Israel Adesanya to you. Just his class, and I know it's been overstated this week, but I just can't get enough. I know there was a slight protest, you know, for the stoppage from him, just a slight protest. But then I see afterwards, it's like he's trying to make Mark Goddard feel better. He's bowing to the crowd. The post-fight comments are just so thoughtful, and he's just able to sort of rise above this enormous moment and just deliver such wonderful words. I just love the way he handles himself. And I've thought that about a lot of fighters, just been impressed with the intellect. And I just can't say enough about how he handled himself. I know we'll get to the fights, but I assume you agree with that.
Yeah, honestly, it was championship mindset, and just seeing the way that he's handling himself and speaking about it, and, you know, not shying away, not hiding away. It makes you want to be like him and better yourself to like him. Like I said, after my first loss in the UFC, like I wouldn't even talk to nobody. I would go to my room, put my head down, and like just mad about losing like that. But after realizing like how many people are there to see you, how many people are watching you and seeing how you react to a loss, it just shows you have to be bigger. And this is the moment right now where people are looking at you the most, where you've seen like Ronda Rousey go into hiding and you know, the world was like, what the heck? And she was like so angry about it. And you saw like her sportsmanship with it was so bad. But to see him, a champion who was riding high so long, and you're going against a guy that knocked you out already once, you lost to, it was a dangerous fight. You were dominating the fight. You were winning the fight. Then all of a sudden you get caught. And for some people, it was an early stoppage. For some people, it wasn't. But just the way he handled himself, like, you know, it's all right. I accept it. It's cool. I'm still good. I've had worse things happen to me in life. And it just makes you see the bigger picture in life in general, where if something bad happens to you in life, or you get fired from your job or something like that, like there's other bigger things. Life moves on, and it's eye-opening for a lot of people.
So we'll move on to Zhang Weili, right? And Daniel Cormier at some point said, like, she's like the best athlete ever, right? And he's not just saying it, right? Like literally, this is before the fight, just like this girl's like the best athlete ever. And I know Cody might want to chime in here because I got to meet Cody Merrow, our wonderful director, this weekend in New York City. Shout out Cody. But Cody was so convicted on Zhang Weili. I know that fighters and broadcasters aren't allowed to bet on fights, and I wish I had taken Cody's advice on Zhang Weili. Anyone who would listen, he said under 2 rounds, it's not even close. And anybody I asked on the way to the arena, I was in the car, it was just me, John, and Dean Thomas. I was like, Dean, please, like, any shot for Carla? Not a soul. Cody, go ahead.
Well, so I had it down to betting the 60-second bands. So anything after 2 minutes in the first and up to the 10th minute in the second, I was betting hammering because I just had a feeling. I was seeing the board. I was seeing the board really well. Everyone during the week, you know, we talked to DC and he's like, hey, like, I don't know if Zhang Weili could beat Carla Esparza in a wrestling match. And I'm like, DC, I don't even think it's close. I thought that we went out there and saw exactly what I saw, you know, heading into that fight. If you go and watch the UFC countdown, as Jason and I did, as we were sitting here in my apartment partaking in some substances, she hit the same exact switch that she'd hit in the fight. So, you know, she had been training that single leg switch, the transitions, the rolls out of it. I just thought she was so well prepared. And, you know, Zhang Weili's a force. And I don't know who in the division could stop her, but I think Amanda Lemos is next.
Bully, the strawweight queen. I mean, talk to me.
Yeah, honestly, it was for me, it was more so Carla looked mentally out of there beforehand. Like, she didn't look like a champion. And it's crazy to like say it, but it's looking at like she's like the second champion now, where mentally they just like some fights they look like they're in it, and some fights they just look like they don't even want to be there. They're scared, nervous to be there. Rose was kind of like the same way, where she said she hates fighting and things like that. Carla, she just looked like she didn't tell me she was a champion. She told me that, you know, I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna lose. Even with her shots, even with her wrestling, like, it felt like she was surprised that she took Weili down. And she like didn't feel like she could even hold her down. Even when she took her down the first time, she stood up. And I'm like, isn't it your game to take her down? Like, why are you standing up? I feel like she was just so surprised that it was on the ground and she was where she was supposed to be. And she just didn't look like she wanted to be there. And I feel like she just wanted to lose for some reason. So, yeah, like, I mean, Weili, she's a champion. She's the best. Shout out to her for trying on the microphone. Because there's a lot of people that don't try to learn English or anything like that. And I think that's going to be huge for the fans, whether she messes up or not. Like, it was just cool to see. And dude, shout out to Moicano.
I was about to say, there's how you learn English. And what do you see, you know? Yeah,
it was so cool. It was cool to see. And it like makes fans want to learn about you more, instead of guys that, you know, they don't try at all. And people don't shy away from them type thing.
Yeah. Go
Jason Anik, you're the fucking smartest man of all time, bro. It's fantastic.
But, you know, I will say that something you brought up last week on the show, talking about Izzy, if he didn't have some electric, elaborate walkout, that it would give you a little bit of concern. And he did. I mean, I know he was up 3-1 or whatever. He fought a great fight, but I thought about that. I said that to John after the fight. Bully was talking, you know.
Yeah, it's honestly, even
you're muted.
A lot of the things that he was saying too, were he was like, yo, I didn't let my parents come to this fight. Yeah, I wanted to just all be soldiers. And, you know, I didn't want to do the walkout. It was all business. And it's like, that's not who you are, though. Like, I feel like he's at his comfort zone when he is doing the theatrics, when he is having his whole family there and things like that. And then I think that changing those little things up, he was dominating the fight. He was winning the fight anyway. But like, for me mentally, I'm gonna go back and be like, man, I shouldn't have did that. I shouldn't have did this.
Yeah.
But honestly, he looked good. He looked very good. I know he says that he was working on his wrestling. He did have great ground control when he did have him down. We saw him with the Dagestani handcuffs, so he did bring in new tools to the game. I just think he got way too comfortable with his back toward the cage. And for me, I'm looking at it and I'm watching it and I'm seeing that he'll put his back to the cage and he'll grab Pereira's left hand so he can watch the left hook, and then he'll clinch up top with him. But when you get close to the 5th round, you're tired and Pereira ducked underneath it. So you're sweaty in there. So that's why he caught with the hook, because he was relying on the same thing. If he has like a more of like a level change or a single leg to the body lock, I think if he adds something like that to his game, it'll help him a lot. But like just trying to reach, then you're going to have that guy that ducks underneath, catches with the left hook. I think that was his biggest mistake, is just being too comfortable with your back against the cage.
I hear you. I was certainly impressed with Pereira's cardio. He's certainly being there in the moment. And with Izzy, he's been so criticized for getting on a bike, sort of dancing a little bit, but you can't help up 3-1. It's like, get out of the way. Just dance around a little bit, Izzy, hold on that belt.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, bro, at least wrestle, go for a takedown. But that just shows you what wrestling does and why most champions are wrestlers, because they can choose to take it wherever they want to. Izzy did have a takedown, but it was more so Pereira trying to force a takedown, and Izzy got on top. But when you look at guys like Islam, Volkanovski, these guys will take you down and hold you down and keep you there for whichever round they want to. It's not like a luck thing. It's not like, oh, this guy tripped over something. If I want to stand with the feet with you, I'll stand on the feet with you. Or if I want to take you down, I'll take you down. And that's why those are the best fighters in the UFC right now.
Yep. So moving on to the fight of the night. And, typically on Remember the Show, we don't necessarily bounce back to the previous weekend, but you can't not talk about UFC 281. Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler. So Theo Vaughn was one of Joe Rogan's guests, and I know he has a close relationship with Dustin Poirier. And I said something to him about, your guy Diamond's, about to fight here. And he was sort of quick to say, I think he has a relationship with Michael Chandler too. So I think he's tight with both guys, but he was into that fight. Absolutely electric. Didn't quite get to the level of Burns and Chimaev for me in Jacksonville, sort of that third fight leading up to but certainly an impressive fight. I cannot root against Dustin Poirier, and no matter how great of a guy Michael Chandler is, he was still a Bellator guy before, so I'm rooting for the old brethren, the UFC, no doubt. Dustin Poirier is a fucking G, man. I love the way he carries himself. I love everything about that dude. He was one of the best guests we've ever had on this show. Talk to me about the Diamond, Michael Chandler, fight of the night.
Yeah, honestly, that was an amazing fight. Like Dustin Poirier, like he said, he beat the most violent fighters in the UFC, and he finished all of them. He finished Gaethje, he finished Alvarez, and now he finished Michael Chandler. Those are 3 of the most exciting fighters to ever do it, and Dustin ended up on top every single one. So that was so cool to see, to see him in the second round be down and to come out in the third round and get the finish, which when he needed it the most. That was amazing. That was so cool. He's one of my favorite fighters. Like you said, he was on the show. The guy is, and he's just like real. There's nothing fake about him. There's nothing like, even after the fight where he was just like, yeah, he's a dirty fighter. Like there's guys that, all respect, bro, all business, blah, blah, but he just said it like whatever's on his head, whatever's on his mind, that's what he is. And when you think about him in the Fightville documentary, you're going back to the old days and where he's come from there.
Yes.
It's just, I don't know, man. It's amazing to see. It's cool to see. And it's cool to see that his hot sauce is now sponsored. A sponsor for the UFC.
Hot sauce of the
his success story is one that all fighters want to emulate.
I love it. So before we talk about Islam Volt, we got it. Yeah, let's jump to Alex Pereira, because we talk about Izzy. We're not talking about the new middleweight champion. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. I said earlier, I'm so impressed with his cardio and how he was there, able to sort of finish that fight in the 5th round. Talk to me about the main event. Belt changes hands at Madison Square Garden again.
Bro, this guy got bricks in his hands, man. To have that type of power in the 5th round, and for a guy that's that big, you expect him to more gas out later in rounds, because he walks around so huge. He probably cuts a lot of weight. But to have a guy like Glover behind you, to have him teaching you, and to be in the room with these guys, be in the room with the champion like him, you can just tell he has that same mindset. He didn't give up on himself. I think he was down probably 3-1. But another one of those speeches that one of those corner speeches, it was so cool. And to see him in the corner saying that, what did he say? He said, "You will die or I will hunt you," or something like that. That was sick, right? It was epic when they showed that video on ESPN MMA.
Absolutely. And obviously we're going to be an exciting show for us here tonight, but I think a lot about these fighters who are coaches. And every time we talk to you, and I may ask Glover tonight, but every time we talk to you about being more nervous as a coach than a fighter, that's real, no?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. Especially if it's one of your boys, your main training partners. you definitely get way more nervous watching them fight. And you can see it from the expression on Glover's face when they showed the reaction after the knockout. He just got up and started going crazy, man. And it's cool to see, like, it's genuine, like, happiness from somebody that your teammate wants to see you win so much. And when you win, it's the whole team leveling up. And for that to happen a couple weeks before Glover's big fight against Yuri, that's going to be huge because high tides raise all ships. So that's going to be cool to see. And especially if they bring 2 belts back to Connecticut, right? That would be crazy.
I love it. I love it. So ultimately, that rematch with Israel Adesanya that we do think is forthcoming at some point. What do you think? Would you like to see that sooner rather than later? Would you like to see him fight somebody else for? I'd love Bob Whitaker to get a crack at somebody else for a belt. If I'm not lying, But anyway,
I mean, for the UFC, I feel like. Oh, hold on 1 second. Go over.
Do your thing. Do your thing. I could bounce back. I could talk Islam, Volkanovski all by myself.
Do you see the size of the fella? He's fucking huge. Who let him in? I love that from Whitaker. It's exactly my thought when I was watching it. So in person, I'm obviously like looking down at I'm not Jason Anik. I can't sit fucking behind John Anik. I'm
Come on now.
Watching from the seats.
Come on now.
He was noticeably bigger. And then you look up on the screen, that motherfucker had to have been 225, 230. I mean, he was towering over Izzy. There's the tail of the tape had him listed the same height. Who the hell is taking those measurements? Are they just like,
he definitely has some height.
There's no way, right?
No way.
But
so Cody, I'll ask you what I was going to ask Belal. Hopefully he's chasing our boy. But I mean, would you like to see a rematch quickly? Would you rather let it marinate a little bit?
Well, I think I would rather let it marinate because, like Kenny said on our show, I don't see how that gets better if he comes back immediately. I think you got to take time, and A, he's going to heal up that leg. B, he's probably got some injuries, as he alluded to coming into the fight. And then C, I think you got to go away and train. Let Alex get a fight in there against somebody else. Let somebody challenge for it. That fight's going to be there. That rematch is sitting there for you the rest of your career anyway. So I don't really see the rush to do it, especially because they're not going to turn around and fight Alex in Brazil, right? So they're not going to turn around and fight Izzy in Oceania. So I don't think there's really any rush. That's a good fight. Keep it on the back burner. I would love to see the winner of Paulo Whitaker get that fight.
I'm with you. So we'll bounce back and to Islam Makhachev, Alexander Volkanovski going to do it at 155 in Perth, Australia, February 11th. And I guess Emmett, I wanted to ask Belal about this because Yair Rodriguez being in a championship opportunity, I think is very significant. You know what I mean? And so at 145, the interim belt, Josh Emmett, Yair Rodriguez. And I got to be honest, most of the time, I don't like these interim belts, but this is one I really do like that both these guys get this opportunity at this time. We'll get to that main event, but I'm very excited for your boy, Yair Rodriguez and Josh Emmett. One of those guys is going to taste a belt.
Yeah, it's cool to see that they're letting the division move on. They're not just going to hold it and wait to see what happens with Islam Volk. I know it's an interim belt, but it's still a belt on the line. It's still the division moving on. Both these guys you're wondering who's going to get next. So now that they're both fighting for this interim belt, it's huge. And for a guy like Yair, who's never in a boring fight, he's always in an exciting fight. Emmett, who's, he's been through the trenches. He's been through tough fights. Yair, both of these guys are coming off of big wins. I know Yair just beat Ortega. I know he got injured, but the fact that he was willing to fight Ortega, you still train for a guy like Ortega. It's not his fault that Ortega's shoulder just popped out of place. It's not like it just randomly popped out of place. Yair is the one who created that injury to happen. And I think just for that market, UFC wants to see Yair being from Mexico. They want that market to have a champion. And honestly, I think it's a good matchup for Yair. His kicks, he's so dynamic with them. They're so hard. He got a chin. He got a great grappling on the ground. So I think it's going to be one of those fights that's going to end up being one of the fights of the years, honestly, because Emmett's a dog. Emmett comes out throwing bombs at you all day. He's not, I know he has great wrestling, but he doesn't really use it. He stands in front of you and he throws bombs at you. And he has that style kind of like a Volk where they're big overhands, big left hooks, and he has bricks in his hand as well.
Just fascinating how things shake out. If Calvin Kattar gets that decision, maybe he's, in that spot with a healthy knee. It's just nuts, man.
Well, and so another fascinating part about that, Jay, just to jump in. So there isn't a line on that yet. I looked, but Yair against Volk was plus 375. So I got to think that the Emmett line is going to be pretty even, I would think. Like who do you guys favor in that fight based off of their last performances? Probably Emmett, right? Maybe like a -130, -150, but I don't see how that line isn't a pick 'em really.
For me, it's a pick 'em, but like I feel like I don't know, it's a popularity contest nowadays. So I think that people are gonna have Yair being the favorite. I think for some reason. But if I'm looking at it,
You mean the under?
I think they're gonna put Yair the favorite. I feel like he has the bigger fan base, the bigger followers. So
I agree.
I think they're all gonna be betting on him. So I think that he'll end up being the favorite. But if I'm looking at it, I think that Emmett, he's been more busy in the last year. The gym that he's training at, Yair seems like the type that, he fights like once every couple of years. So like he's had super long layoffs, not from injury, just from sitting out and waiting. So it's tough to be like Yair's going to go in there and walk through him, especially, he was like 2 years off. Then that Ortega fight wasn't really a full fight. So it was crazy to see, but maybe his body's a lot healthier now because you're not going through full camps like that. And, just like I said, his style is just so weird and so dynamic between everything.
And when you get these guys like Yair Rodriguez and Arnold Allen, sometimes we have recency bias and eye test. It's like you don't see these guys and then you see them and you're like, Jesus. Like to me, Yair Rodriguez is probably going to be the favorite. And with respect to Emmett, deservedly so. Yair Rodriguez is a killer, as Belal knows well. So Volkanovski, a huge dog in this potential matchup here, right? What is he? Plus 255, Makhachev minus 305. So I saw Volk in an elevator in New York City, and I just decided, I was like, I just want to talk to this guy about his fight in Jacksonville. So I was like, Volk, listen to me. I'm like fucking Volk. But it is weird because he doesn't know me, but he knows my face, and it's weird. And so I did laundry with his manager back in the day in Jacksonville. So anyway, I just said to him, I was like, Zombie was like laughing at your speed in the first round. He's like, oh no, like just sort of respond. And then we talked about
accent. You're about to do an accent.
I had it there a little bit. But the fourth round, right? If you recall against Zombie, he was like, you sure? Like literally asking him, like, do you really want to do this? And I brought that up with him, and he was just like, he's a really good guy. He meant that honestly. Like, he really didn't want to continue beating him down like that. It's just crazy. But Volkanovski is bigger than you would think. I know your team Islam all day, Belal. That's your camp, baby. But what a great matchup. And for Islam to face the pound for pound king right now. I don't love guys moving up when there are guys that they should fight in their division. But this one I have an appetite for.
Yeah, exactly. Especially for Volk, who's defended the belt multiple times. If it's a guy like Islam decided to move up now, it'd be like, come on, bro. Like, you just got the belt. But Volk, he sat there. He beat Holloway. He beat Korean Zombie. He beat all these guys, Ortega. So he's already been through a lot of the top dogs in the division. And like I said, when you're looking at the division, it's like it could be Yair, it could be Emmett, it could be Arnold Allen. There's like three guys there that, right, it could be one of them, but there's not like a clear front runner. If I'm picking a clear front runner, to me, it's Arnold Allen, just because he's on a 9-fight winning streak. He's dominating guys. He's finishing guys. The way he's looked good his last two fights has been another level. So, but like I said, nowadays it's, what's your follower count? What's your what country's behind you? And hold up, God dang it, Glover.
That's all right.
I think what Bully's saying is
light heavyweight champion Glover Teixeira. What's going on up in Danbury, Connecticut? He's getting some folks ready for some fights, huh? What's going on?
It's that internet.
He said, "Can we do Zoom?" I'm like, "Bro, what are you talking? What's going on here?"
Hey, we got so much UFC always to talk about. If he comes, he comes. That's great. But hey,
Pause.
So Glover, did you see him? You see John call him over to the broadcast booth after the? See, I was there. I didn't see. But John called him over to the broadcast booth. I guess he got on the mic a little bit. I was going to ask him what he said.
No, I didn't see that either.
Yeah,
I saw that. I think it was more so like Glover was just out of it because I think John asked him like a specific question to the camp, and Glover was just like, "Yeah, he's a great fighter. He's really good." Like, I don't think he heard anything.
I'm sure.
I don't know how he could.
Waiting at the end.
Well, Bully, I'm not like big on my cell phone. I don't like take a bunch of footage all day, but I'm trying to be more active doing that stuff. And the only time that I actually wanted to pull up my phone and make sure I recorded was watching Glover after that win. It's like I cannot get enough of watching you guys happy for your teammates that's what I like watching, man. It's unbelievable. I couldn't get enough of watching how happy Glover was. It's like more happy than the night he won the belt. Just unbelievable.
Hold on. Cody, I just sent you the link. Is this link working for you on your page? Because it's not working for Glover. Or on your phone?
So as you guys work through this,
we're live TV, guys.
I'll just talk to some of the fans.
When we do it live.
So you know,
Yeah,
I saw Dean Thomas, right? And I met Cody for the first time. So I said, I'm going to tell this to the fans. So I told Dean Thomas I never met Belal Muhammad. They're like, you've never met Belal? He like could not believe that I had never met you. It's unbelievable. I've never been in the same place as Belal Muhammad. It's nuts. When is that going to happen? It's going to be 2023. It's crazy. We've been doing this show since September 2020.
You got to come over. Where you at? December 10th. Let's get this December 10th.
Dude, I'm telling you, some of us got to work, pay some bills in this rig. So why don't we might as well talk about the heavyweight fight coming up this weekend while we're waiting on Glover. Let's move on. Cody, show me. I want to see. Can you show me the Bully Bicks graphic just because I like it?
Yes,
show it to me just because I want to see it.
Yes.
I like that. I shouldn't be muted. If I wasn't muted during that, you would have heard some stuff. All right. So Belal, one thing before we get into this, Bick, that I want to say about sort of going to these events and sitting up close. It's like almost scary, you know, like my respect for the fighters is through the roof to begin with. But when you're there and you're just up close, it's just a different thing, man. You know, we talk about the mental game all the time and just seeing some of the fighters in their mental space and even seeing a guy like Dustin Poirier come over and see Theo Vaughn there and see the way they react to the broadcast. It just, there's a lot to get, you know, you see DC talking about the Bruce Buffer with the, you know, the pump in the fit, you know, if you give Bruce Buffer a fist pump, it's like a kiss of death. It's just all the different emotions when you're going in there. You're not just playing a sport, man. Someone trying to kill you in there. It's just, my admiration just endless.
Yeah. When people were saying, even with Dustin, when he had an interview and he was saying that, when he was saying that, is Chandler a dirty fighter? And Dustin's like, no, bro, we're both trying to kill each other in there. When Chandler's sitting there blowing his nose in your face, for me, it's like Chandler just needs to be honest. Like, bro, like we're in the middle of a fight. I'm trying to do anything I can do to win. The what's called dirty, the mouth hook or whatever it is.
Oh yeah.
But Dustin said I bit his finger. It was trying to chop it off, but you know, it's like you said, we're both trying to punch each other in the face. We're trying to elbow each other in the face. We're trying to knock each other out. So little things like that where people, oh, you're so dirty. You blew your blood in his face. It's like, bro, he's trying to kick him in the head. Like, it's not considered dirty. You're just trying to do whatever you can do to win.
Yeah, it's just bananas. Anyway, sorry, I digress there. So the heavyweight fight this weekend, you know, just after UFC 281, it's like, of course they got an event this weekend for everybody, right? With a nice heavyweight, you know, headed by the Black Beast. I'll take it. So this heavyweight division, man, deeper than it's been in quite some time, in my opinion. You know, John Jones has yet to enter the fray, and there's still a lot of guys being talked about. I love when Derek Lewis is the underdog against a guy that's a little bit lesser known. I know Spivak certainly is the deserved favorite here. He's no slouch. So he's 2-1 favorite against the Black Beast here. Spivak 6-3 in the UFC. Won 2 straight, last one against Augusto Sakai, second round knockout back in August. So Derek Lewis making his 26th UFC appearance. That pays some bills and headlined a lot of events. He's lost 3 or 4. Dude has fought everybody. It's just amazing. I'm so fascinated to see how much money this guy has earned just making the walk. Just show money for this guy. Just unbelievable. Anyway, I hope you're picking the Black Beast. Very curious how you break down this fight. Talk to me about the heavyweight fight coming up this weekend, UFC Fight Night.
Honestly, for me, you want to see Black Beast win. Like, you obviously love the Black Beast, but I just think it's a tough matchup for him. Sergey's been using his wrestling a lot more. He's been he's grappler heavy lately, but he does get hit a lot. He does get hit some. And for Derek Lewis, you're on a 2-fight losing streak. You got smashed the last couple of times, and the last one was in Dallas. But as long as he's not fighting in Texas, he's always good when he's out of Texas, right? I'm glad he's out of Texas. It's in Vegas right now. He says he's been training harder. He said he's getting better. But like I said, coming off 2 losses, your mindset's different. And even him, he was like, man, I don't know. Is my job on the line or not? Like, you don't know nowadays, even how much of a star you are. Like, nobody ever wants to lose 2 in a row, let alone 3 in a row. So it just gives you that extra pressure. It gives you that extra anxiety. And you're already coming to fights with that. And for it to be a 5-round fight with a guy like Sergey, who's been fighting smarter, if he goes in there, shoots in, takes Black Beast down early or starts draining on him, wearing on him a little bit earlier. The thing with Sergey is he doesn't really have crazy knockout power. His striking is pretty normal. There's nothing one-shot power, even though all heavyweights, all it takes is one shot. But he just doesn't have that Francis Ngannou, that Derek Lewis type of power. And Derek Lewis, all he has to do is land one clean shot. And especially if he's expecting Sergey to come in there wrestling, he could do like the same thing he did Razor Blades, where he laid back a little bit, waited for you to hop in, and then teed off on you once you moved forward a little bit. So I think maybe I talked myself into a Derek Lewis win right here. I'm going to go with the Black Beast here. At first I was thinking Sergey, but then I'm thinking about it. I got Derek.
I love it. Dude, Cody, before you pick, it's like you start talking, then I'm thinking about guys like Ryan Spann. We could sit here and talk about UFC 281 on it. How about Ryan fucking Spann? Dude, I mean, it's just unbelievable. Cody, I'll let you make
like I said, with those guys who are just that athletic ability, like Ryan Spann, dude used to fight at 170. So he has the footwork and the speed. Yeah, that's crazy. And to see how huge he is, how big he is. But to knock out a guy like Dominic Reyes that quick, that early, you feel for Dominic Reyes because he's still, like I said, like even on Ray Longo, where he's like, how much would his life have been different if that decision against John Jones went the other way? Because, you know, you wouldn't have taken those other losses. You wouldn't have taken those other fights if you were the champion. Life would have been different. It's a different mindset when you're training as a winner and as a champion than when you're training as I won that fight, I got robbed. And he's the guy that you could tell that his life would have changed so much that he was like, he keeps talking about, I still won that fight. No matter what, I still won that fight. And if you're still living in the past like that, you can't see the future. And your futures are going to be always in the past. And I think that he kept living in those memories. Maybe in his camps, he was like, I almost beat John Jones. So maybe those other camps, he didn't train as much. He's like, if I almost beat John Jones, what are these other guys going to do to me? And maybe he didn't take those other fights as serious. So that's why he got knocked out. But, man, it just sucks because he was so good, especially in that fight. Like that Dominic Reyes would beat 95% of the guys on the roster, the guy that fought that one night.
Hear you. Dude, and he's such a big body when he gets knocked out, man. It's like he's a big boy. Cody, who do you like in the heavyweight main event Saturday night?
Well, I like when the internet sources can match how they spell Sergey Spivak. I mean, Jesus, there's like 4 different spellings out there. I had to change them lower.
There's a C, there's a K. It's all right.
So I was looking at UFC stats, just to kind of support the point. Sergey Spivak born in 1995, which is a little alarming. That's 2 years older than I, or younger than I am.
1995?
Yes, 1995.
Oh, wow.
I'm used to all that youngin' stuff.
Yeah, you hit a certain age, right? And it just goes downhill.
Yeah.
But, it's interesting to see that's a huge step up in competition. I mean, obviously, he's fought the Alexei Oleinik of the world. He lost to Tom Aspinall, but then he fought Greg Hardy and Augusto Sakai. So, huge step up, I think, moving up to a Derek Lewis. Augusto Sakai, I don't think should be a top 15 ranked heavyweight, but Derek Lewis is very clearly a top 10 ranked heavyweight perennially. Where I think the difference comes here is Sergey Spivak averages 4 takedowns a fight. Takedown accuracy 63% against somebody in Derek Lewis whose takedown defense is not great. But Derek Lewis got the touch of death, baby, and I ain't going against Derek Lewis. So give me Derek Lewis plus 170 by knockout. I think he puts him out in the first, to be honest. Why not? Short,
and Derek Lewis is so good at getting up off the ground too. Like you've seen those things. Like he doesn't get tapped out. Like he'll get finished on the feet. He'll get knocked out, but like you're not gonna finish him on the ground. I don't care who you are. Oleinik had him in super bad position. He'll just throw you off him. So like if Sergey gets him down, I can see Derek getting right back up.
His wrestling coach must just like punch himself in the face when he watches Derek get up, right? He's just like, it works, but I mean, it's not textbook, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But Derek's been working like for years, working on his body, working on, he plays it off like sort of showing up on fight night. And I know he's made jokes about like, I'm not a 5-round fighter, but he has worked on these things. You know what I mean? You don't make 26 UFC appearances by accident. That's for sure.
Exactly.
Well, so Glover Teixeira wanted Zoom. So I guess our StreamYard application probably isn't good, but it might be better. We might need to have him back on a game show, but I assume we're going to have a rain check from the former UFC light heavyweight.
Well, I'm almost waiting for Belal to just hit the video chat button in the Instagram DM and just be like, yo,
yeah, no, up? He was like, sorry, brother, I'm not good with technology. He said he was waiting for his wife to get home to do it for him. But you're the champ. You got a big fight coming up. He said he'll come on the next time. So we'll figure it out with him. So everybody who tuned in for Glover, You got us. You got us.
Exactly. We'll do a Zoom with Glover Teixeira and Clay Guida, who also struggled with the technology. We'll get those guys.
Clay's was worse though, because at least we saw Clay. So that one was like we're right there. We could have touched him, but Glover.
So I'm glad I remembered this. Okay, so dude, the basketball game you played in. Talk to me. Belal played in a charity basketball game. Tell us about it.
Man, it was awesome. The turnout was so cool. There's so many kids over there that were just like going nuts. The energy they brought, and it was in Indiana, so that was epic. We literally we had no substitutes. It was 4 quarters, 8 minutes each quarter, and it was 5-on-5. So it was a full 5-on-5. Yeah, so it was a game. And I'm in shape, but my teammates were like, "All right, bro, they're not really great athletes." I had one of my guys was a hooper. Shout out to Hoops Finesse, and he was doing Steph Curry, shooting 3-pointers from half corner and making them in there. But bro, it was such a tight game. In the fourth quarter, we're down by 8. We end up coming back. We tie the game with 10 seconds left, and then we end up going into overtime. And in overtime, we were up 5 with maybe 30 seconds left, and then they end up coming back and tying it. So we go into double overtime.
No way.
Yeah, and then my boy Hoops had to hit 3 free throws to tie the game. He hit 3 free throws to tie the game, and then we're gonna go to triple overtime. We're like, bro, it's for charity. We're dead. We're tired. We're gonna leave it as a tie. We left it as a draw.
No way.
Yeah,
triple overtime draw. I love it.
Yeah, it was an epic game. It was so cool, but the turnout was so cool, and it was just in Indiana. So I think we're gonna try to do these in New York. We're gonna do them in Chicago and bigger cities, and then try to get some substitutes.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This squad right here, I don't care who, DC, Jamal Hill, fucking the Schmo. I don't care who you are. Any 3 people in the UFC, I swear to God, any 3 people, we'll wax you. We'll smoke you.
No,
Period.
Literally the way we set it up, it was so cool here. So I think it just open your mind up to if the UFC did do something like this, it would be cool. It would be all we need is a little gym, sell tickets. I think it'll blow up, something like that for UFC fighters. And there's a lot of fighters that are willing to do it and try to do it. And asked us last time, yo, bro, can we get a game going? Let us know next time. You saw the freaking tarantula today dunking on a 5-foot rim on his Instagram story. I'm like, bro, that ain't no regulation rim.
So you obviously didn't play in Crocs. So did you say it's so funny, John and I, right? It's so funny because we have the same fucking brain, excuse my language. So every time you talk about playing basketball, Belal, I bring up Patrick Mahomes. I bring just be careful. And then John sees a picture of you after the game wearing Crocs, and he's like, can you please? And this is after the pay-per-view, and we're in his room at 4 a.m. He's like, can you tell Belal to not play basketball in Crocs or whatever? And I guess he commented thank you, Team Muhammad, or whatever it is. It's just,
yeah.
Belal's got Saquon Barkley thighs. He's just fucking jacked.
No, that was after the game. I had my shoes on I had my shoes on. I'm rocking the Bo Jacksons in there, but she was a beast. If you follow her on Instagram, it's under Jameed, but she's a hooper. She kills guys. I'm like, bro, I gotta have a taste for it. She was one of the coaches. So I was like, I want to see her handles, and we played up to 3 real quick, and she killed me. She was so good with the handles. She was faster than I was like, man, I should have put the shoes back on.
I love it.
There
you are, Dave Fretz.
Some remember the show.
I love it, and a shout out before they were calling you Dikembe. I like that. Anyway, for Glover Teixeira, we need to see you back, but good luck December 10th. Cody Merrow, our esteemed director, my boy, number 4th ranked Belal Muhammad, hoping to get a fight. Just let him fight let him fight Leon Edwards again, please. Anyway, my name is Jason Anik. We appreciate you joining us for Remember the Show tonight. We'll see you next Thursday night. Enjoy the fights. Peace.
Philly sucks.